Hello everyone, this is LVO9X and today I'm going to be counting down my top 10 favorite Mortal Kombat special moves of all time. Now let's get one thing straight. I'm not counting any fatalities. This is strictly a list of moves that you can pull off in the middle of battle. Also, I'm going for both style and substance. Some moves will be chosen for how useful they are, but some will be picked for being flashy and fun to look at and pull off. Lastly, these are my personal favorites. You're probably going to disagree with me at some point, but that's okay. We all have our own opinion on these sorts of things, so let's get started with my top 10 favorite Mortal Kombat special moves of all time. So I start my list with one that's completely style over substance. This is just your basic projectile, except, well, it's a giant green skull which eats away at your opponent's chest as well as their health bar. It's not super powerful, and it's not any easier to pull off than any other projectile. It made the list strictly on the basis that it's a giant green skull. Need I say more? Here's one that's quite the oddball. This move didn't appear in any Mortal Kombat game in any form until MK vs. DCU, but it has since gone on to appear in the 2011 reboot game, so I think it's safe to say it'll be sticking around, and for good reason. So it might not be the easiest move to pull off, having to do it right at the exact same time as your opponent tries to hit you, but that just makes it all the more satisfying when you finally do hit it, especially when you're sitting right next to the guy you just hit it on. Here's yet another style over substance move. Just like Quan Chi's skull, Kung Lao's hat throw isn't any better than anyone else's projectile except for one minor difference. You can aim it up or down mid-throw. With this in mind, it makes it a lot harder for your opponent to jump or duck out of the way of this thing. Is that enough to put it all the way at number 8 on my list? Well, if it were some sort of fireball or random magic, I'd say no. But this is Kung Lao's hat we're talking about here. I love Kung Lao, and his hat is his most defining feature. So with that in mind, I say this definitely deserves its spot at number 8 on my list. Well, who didn't see this coming? Of course this makes the list, but what is it about this move that makes it so alluring? It doesn't do all that much damage, it's overly complicated to pull off having to input a 4-button command rather than the game's standard 3-button command. Is it the stylistic, unbelievably unrealistic and satisfying movement? No, it's none of that. It's the goddamn noise Liu Kang makes while he's pulling off this goddamn move. We all know we've imitated this at least once during a late-night beer-driven session of multiplayer MK action, and yes, that is more than enough for it to be put on this list. First of all, I'm not a very big Shang Tsung fan. He's not one of my favorite Mortal Kombat villains, let alone characters. That being said, this move is awesome. You not only suck out a part of your opponent's soul, as well as a small chunk of their health, but you actually replenish your own health. I can't tell you how many times I was almost dead and by using this move was able to make a comeback. Not only that, but it's a great way to get flawless victories. Just try to pull this move off anytime you get hit. Yeah, so it's a little cheap, and it might be one of those moves that gets banned when you play with your friends, but it's still one of my favorites. This move falls into the free hit category. The move itself does very little, if any, damage, but it stuns your enemy, allowing you to pull off one move or any combo with a K you want. I think the most popular moves to pull off on a stunned opponent are either the grab or, of course, the old standby uppercut. But enough about that. The move is as much style as it is substance. It's awesome to see Cabal swiftly run right through his opponent, sending them spinning out of control and vulnerable for the perfect hit. I don't know much else to say than that. The move just rocks. So maybe not everyone has a teleport, but I've always favored those who do. Some have better than others, of course, and I'd have to say that some of my favorites include Scorpion, who jumps into one side of the screen and out the other, quickly punching his opponent as he does. Then, of course, there's Sector. He falls into the ground and pops back out right below his enemy, hitting them with a huge uppercut. Then there's Cyrax, Sector's counterpart. He, being a cyborg ninja, disassembles his entire body only to quickly come back together behind his opponent, ready for the perfect attack. And last but far from least would be Raiden. He does a standard teleport, but he does it so fast that it can really win you any match, and it is my personal favorite of all the teleports of any character in these games. We're getting down to the wire here. In this move, Raiden flies into his opponent, grabbing and holding them as he flies across the screen, electrocuting them all the way. Not only is this move super powerful and effective as well as useful, but it's amazing to behold, and we all know, just as Liu Kang's bicycle kick, the way he yells while doing this move is just awesome, unbelievable, crazy, and hysterical. And my bud Ozman182 can pull it off almost flawlessly. I'm sure I may get a little hate for this only being at number 2. And with this at number 2, then we all know it's going to be at number 1. But I've got my reasons. This is another free hit move. It's a standard projectile, except it completely freezes your opponent if it so much as touches them. It's extremely useful when you find yourself in those back against the wall situations. And it's the defining move of one of the most favorited and greatest Mortal Kombat characters of all time. Whether it's Sub-Zero or his brother, assuming his name after his death, this is one of the greatest special moves of any fighting game ever. Obviously. But why? Why this over the freeze ball? Well, let me ask you this. How many times have you freezed your opponent on the other side of the screen and not had enough time to get your free hit in before your opponent breaks out of the ice? All because you had to walk or run across the screen. Well, the spear fixes all that by making your opponent get over here, setting him up for the perfect uppercut. It's not only my favorite move in Mortal Kombat, but it's my favorite special move of any fighting game ever. Well, that will just about wrap up my list of my top 10 favorite Mortal Kombat special moves ever. Thank you to anyone and everyone who happens to watch this. This has been LVO9X, signing off.